Welcome to InnoTech, everybody. And this is our very first deep dive.
It is, yeah.
It's exciting. So today, we are going to be tackling V.U.C.A.
Oh,
V.U.C.A. It's something you've probably heard, kind of whispered in boardrooms and strategy sessions.
definitely.
Everyone throws it around.
Yeah.
When the world feels a little bit, a little bit wobbly.
Yeah.
But we are going to go beyond the buzzword today, though.
It's time to, move past just defining it.
Yes.
Get into, the practicality of it.
Exactly. We're very lucky to have Alex with us,
Hi, everyone.
who has spent over a decade at McKinsey,
I have.
helping businesses navigate some, seriously choppy waters.
Yeah. Some choppy waters out there.
So think of him as our V.U.C.A. Sherpa today.
Happy to guide you through the terrain.
So the goal is not just to understand what V.U.C.A. is, but what it means for you, for your business.
Yeah.
For making decisions when the future feels like a choose-your-own-adventure novel with way too many endings.
And let's be honest, who isn't feeling that pressure right now? Right.
I mean, look at what companies are facing with supply chain disruptions, geopolitical shifts, AI becoming both a solution and a problem all at once.
Right.
It's like every business plan needs a giant asterisk
Yeah.
with subject to extreme change.
In the fine print, yeah. Okay, so we're painting a pretty chaotic picture here.
A little bit.
But let's break it down. For anyone who's not quite up on their acronyms, what does V.U.C.A. actually stand for?
So V.U.C.A. stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And it's not just that the world is changing, it's how it's changing that's different.
Give us a concrete example.
Okay.
What does this how look like in the real world?
All right, let's take the semiconductor shortage a few years back.
Okay.
That wasn't just a blip in the supply chain.
Oh, yeah.
It was a perfect example of V.U.C.A. in action.
Okay.
So first you had the volatility, like a sudden dramatic shift in demand as everyone went remote and needed more tech.
Yep.
Then you layer on the uncertainty. No one knew how long it would last.
What the long-term impacts would be. Add in the complexity. You got global supply chains,
Oh, yeah.
political tensions, natural disasters, all tangled up in the mess.
Yeah.
And finally, the ambiguity. Was this a temporary issue?
Right.
Or did it signal a fundamental shift in the way we make and consume technology?
So it's not just one problem. It's this interconnected web of issues that makes it so hard to untangle.
Exactly. And that's what makes traditional strategic planning so difficult. Trying to create a 5-year plan in a V.U.C.A. world is kind of like trying to navigate by using a map from the 1800s.
Right.
The landmarks might be there, but the terrain has fundamentally shifted.
Okay, so we've established that V.U.C.A. is more than just a buzzword.
Definitely.
It's a whole new ballgame. But the big question is, how do you actually play this game?
Yeah.
How do you make decisions when the goalposts are constantly moving? That's what we are diving into next.
And that's where things get really interesting. One of the most powerful tools I've seen companies use to make sense of all this is the Synaphin framework. It's not about predicting the future.
Right.
Because that's impossible. In a V.U.C.A. world, it's about understanding the kind of problem you're dealing with.
Right.
So you can respond appropriately.
Okay, explain this Synaphin thing like I'm the CEO who just got handed a 5-year plan that's already obsolete.
All right. So imagine a landscape with 5 different domains.
Okay.
You've got simple,
Okay.
where cause and effect are clear. Then there's complicated. Think of a fancy watch, lots of parts.
Mm-hmm.
But experts can figure it out.
Okay.
Then we hit complex, where cause and effect only become clear after the fact.
Okay.
And then there's chaotic.
Yeah.
Where things are just, chaotic.
Chaotic, yeah.
There's no time for analysis. You need to act fast. And finally, there's disorder, where you don't even know which domain you're in.
So where does V.U.C.A. fit into all this? Is it just another word for chaotic?
That's where it gets interesting. V.U.C.A. can actually exist in all of these domains, but it tends to push things towards the complex and chaotic end of the spectrum.
So the semiconductor shortage we talked about earlier, that was probably smack dab in the middle of complex, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
There were so many interconnected factors at play, you couldn't just solve it with a simple solution.
Right.
It required a completely different approach to decision making.
Okay, so how do companies actually use this Synaphin framework to make better decisions in a V.U.C.A. world?
Let's say you're a company trying to figure out your AI strategy.
Okay.
If you're in a simple domain, Maybe you just need some off-the-shelf software to automate a few tasks. But if you're in a complex domain where the implications of AI are still emerging, you need a much more experimental, iterative approach. You need to be constantly testing, learning, and adapting.
So it's about knowing what kind of game you're playing before you choose your strategy.
Right, and it's about being willing to shift your approach as the situation changes.
Right.
Because in a V.U.C.A world, the only constant is change itself.
So what kind of strategies are we talking about here? How do you build a business that can not only survive, but actually thrive in this kind of environment?
Well, one of the key things is to move away from rigid top-down hierarchies.
Okay.
Embrace more agile, decentralized structures.
Okay.
Think of it like a jazz band rather than an orchestra. Everyone knows the general tune, but they have the freedom to improvise
Okay.
and respond to each other in real time.
So more jazz hands, less conducting batons.
Exactly. And it's not just about structure, it's also about building a culture of resilience.
Okay.
It's not about avoiding failure, because in a V.U.C.A world, failure is inevitable.
Right.
It's about learning from those failures, adapting quickly, and coming back stronger.
So what does that look like in practice? How do you build that kind of culture?
It starts with leadership. Leaders need to create an environment where it's safe to experiment, to take risks, and even to fail. They need to model that behavior themselves and be open to feedback from all levels of the organization.
So it's about moving away from the blame and shame culture that can be so prevalent in traditional organizations.
Absolutely. In a V.U.C.A world, blame gets you nowhere.
Right.
Learning does. And it's not just about leaders, it's about empowering everyone in the organization to think like entrepreneurs,
Okay.
to be proactive,
Okay.
and to come up with solutions.
So you need to build a team of jazz musicians, not just one brilliant soloist.
That's a great analogy because
Yeah.
it's not just about individual brilliance, it's about the collective intelligence and adaptability of the entire organization.
So we've talked about structure and culture, but what about the individual? What kind of skills and mindsets do people need to develop to thrive in a VUCA world?
Well, one of the most important skills is adaptability, being able to embrace change, learn new skills quickly, and adjust to new situations.
Because if you're clinging to the way things used to be, you're going to get swept away pretty quickly.
Exactly. And it's also about being comfortable with ambiguity, being able to make decisions with incomplete information, to be okay with not knowing all the answers, and to be willing to course correct as you go.
It's almost like you need to develop a tolerance for uncertainty.
That's a great way to put it, because in a VUCA world, uncertainty is a constant companion.
This all sounds incredibly challenging. But I imagine there are companies out there who are not just surviving, but actually thriving in this new reality. What are they doing differently?
They're the ones who are embracing the principles we've been talking about. They're building agile organizations, fostering a culture of resilience and experimentation, and empowering their people to adapt and innovate.
Give us a real-world example. Who's doing this well?
One company that comes to mind is Hair, a Chinese appliance manufacturer.
Okay.
They completely reinvented their organizational structure, moving away from a traditional hierarchy to a network of microenterprises.
Okay.
Each unit has a high degree of autonomy, allowing them to respond quickly to changes in customer demand and market conditions.
So they're basically running a bunch of mini startups under one roof?
Essentially, yes. And it's been incredibly successful. They've been able to dramatically increase their speed of innovation and their responsiveness to customer needs.
That's fascinating. It sounds like they've really cracked the code on how to be agile at scale.
They're a great example of how to move beyond just talking about VUCA and actually putting these principles into practice.
So what can other companies learn from Hair's example?
I think the key takeaway is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution for navigating VUCA.
Right.
It's about finding the right approach for your specific context, your industry, your culture, but the principles remain the same: agility, resilience, experimentation, and empowerment.
Those are some powerful tools to have in your arsenal when the world feels like it's spinning a little too fast.
Absolutely. And the good news is these are all skills that can be learned and developed.
Yeah.
It's not about some innate ability to predict the future. It's about adopting a new mindset and a new way of working.
So what's one small step a company or even an individual can take today to start becoming more VUCA ready?
One simple thing is to start asking different questions.
All right.
Instead of asking what's going to happen, which is impossible to know for sure, start asking what if?
Okay.
What if this trend continues? What if this technology takes off? What if this competitor enters our market?
So it's about shifting from prediction to preparation.
Exactly. It's about being prepared for multiple eventualities rather than trying to bet on a single outcome.
This has been a really insightful conversation.
Yeah, it has.
Thank you for helping us unpack this whole V.U.C.A thing.
My pleasure.
And for you listening, we've covered a lot of ground today, but here's the key takeaway. V.U.C.A is not a problem to be solved. It's a reality to be embraced. It's about shifting our mindsets, our strategies, and our organizations to thrive in a world of constant change. And remember, V.U.C.A doesn't just impact companies.
No.
It affects all of us.
Yeah, it definitely impacts us at the individual level. I mean, think about how the job market has changed in just the last few years. Skills that were in high demand 5 years ago are becoming obsolete as automation and AI take over.
It's like the ground is constantly shifting beneath our feet.
It is.
Career-wise.
Yeah.
So how do we as individuals navigate this V.U.C.A world, make sure we're not left behind?
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Adaptability is key.
Yeah.
We need to be lifelong learners, constantly updating our skills and knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's not just about technical skills, it's about those soft skills too.
Okay.
Communication, collaboration, problem solving, the things that machines can't replicate.
Yeah.
Yet, anyway.
Right. So it's not about becoming some kind of superhuman who can predict the future. It's about being a quick study, being open to new things, and being comfortable with, well, being a little uncomfortable.
Exactly. And I think it's also about being proactive. Don't wait for your job to become obsolete.
Right.
Start thinking about what skills you will need in the future and start developing them now.
Yeah.
There are so many resources available online, from free courses to boot camps to mentorship programs.
Yeah.
It's never been easier to upskill or reskill yourself.
So V.U.C.A isn't all doom and gloom.
No, definitely not.
It's also creating opportunities for people who are willing to adapt and evolve.
Absolutely. Think about the rise of the gig economy and remote work. These are trends that have been accelerated by V.U.C.A, but they've also created opportunities for people to have more flexibility and control over their careers.
Like V.U.C.A is forcing us to rethink the whole concept of work.
I think that's a good thing. We're moving away from the traditional 9-to-5, one job for life model to a more fluid, dynamic way of working.
Yeah.
And that can be incredibly empowering for individuals.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into V.U.C.A, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. V.U.C.A is not something to be feared. It's something to be embraced. It's a challenge, yes, but it's also an opportunity to rethink the way we work, the way we learn, and the way we live our lives.
It's an opportunity to become more resilient, more adaptable, and more creative.
So the next time you hear someone utter the word V.U.C.A, don't let it fill you with dread. Let it be a call to action, a call to step outside your comfort zone, to embrace the unknown, and to become the best, most adaptable version of yourself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into V.U.C.A. We'll be back next time with another exploration of the ever-changing world of innovation and tech. Until then, stay curious, stay agile, and stay ahead of the curve.